Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through, and on this edition it's Operation C, brought to us by Konami. Operation C is the third Contra game that was released, coming out before Contra 3 on the Super Nintendo. The game has a different name in every region. It's Operation C in North America. It's known as Probotector in Europe, which is what the whole Contra series is known as, and features robots as the main playable characters, and other things changed up as well to be less violent. As well as in Japan, this one is just called Contra. The game, though, is an original game with different levels than the NES counterparts. And while I don't like it quite as much as both NES games, it's still an enjoyable experience, even with a little bit of hit detection issues. Your character's model is a little bit bigger than it should be, and you can get hit sometimes by some stuff, even though it may look like you should have been missed. There's a few special weapons to grab in the game, including the flamethrower, spread gun, and the homing shot. The spread is always my favorite, but I will also use the homing if I end up getting it. Run over here, and we have a little bit of an elevator segment as we work our way down. On the elevator, fire up into the air in order to hit the robot that's going to come from above. There's going to be a few of them, so just take those out as the elevator's making its way to the bottom. This is one of those games I used to play on road trips quite a bit, and actually probably the Contra I played the most when I was young. But then when I got a little bit older, I started playing the other Contra games. I've never been huge into Contra, but it's definitely a series I've played and enjoyed most of the games. Well, the good games for sure. One of my favorite Contra games is Contra 4 on the Nintendo DS. It was because it was on the DS that I had on me at all times during that period of time that I ended up playing it an absolute ton. It also had unlockable stuff, including old versions of Contra, so that's really, really cool. Be careful working your way around these pipes, you don't fall down into the water below. Eventually we come to the end here. There's a big old submarine. The homing missiles work great here, the homing shot. It'll track down the various cannons and other things on here that you need to destroy in order to defeat the boss. Just watch out for a little bit of the projectile fire that may come your way, and after you hit the last cannon, the submarine will sink, and you're moving on to the next level. Level number 2 is a top-down perspective stage. We're going to start heading on forward, using our homing shot to take out most of the enemies on the sides. I will be switching up, though, back to the spread shot soon enough. Up here we have the first of these tanks that we have to face. You have to destroy the two big old turrets on the left and right sides that are going to fire at you. Don't stand directly in front of it when it comes out all the way. It'll end up firing right directly into you, so you want to back away and fire from a little bit of a distance, just moving slightly left or right in order to get in between the shots. Once you destroy both of the things, though, it's done and you can continue walking in the level. When we make it here, we'll go just a little bit farther and we end up having to take on another one of the tanks, the one that was just behind us. Do the same thing that you did before, but this time on the side. This one will also drop off some regular soldiers, so be sure to aim some of your shots down so that you can at least hit a few of them. The coolest part about this version, I think, of Contra is when you pick up the spread shot a second time, you get a more powerful 5-shot spread shot, which is pretty devastating to most of the enemies. For the next tank, we're going to stand up at the top of the screen and keep firing below. Just dodge left or right if you need to in order to get in between the bullets. Back away from the top screen a little bit and then start going forward on the right side. Don't go on the left side, you'll walk right into those two firing turrets. Up here, just destroy the wall, just keep firing at it until it blows up and then walk on through. It's time for the next big boss encounter. It's basically a giant version of what we've been dealing with in this level already. I'm going to start by firing right here at the main center part, watching out for the wave-like projectile it shoots out. Then go to the right side, take out the turret there. Then when it comes back to the left, take out both of the turrets. As it's slowly moving back and forth, we're going to take out the middle a little bit before finishing off the right turret when it finally gets all the way over. And then just go back to the center to finish off that in order to complete the fight. Level number 3 is a jungle themed stage. As we begin, I like the effect of the trees moving. Just any kind of cool graphical effect, anything doing something is cool on the Game Boy just because it did have limited animations usually. Be careful when you're running across here when these come out of the ground that you duck and continue to fire straight so you can destroy them. Also, right before you duck, try to go behind you and destroy whatever enemies have been chasing you so they don't run into you when you do duck. You don't have to worry too much about the rocks, just kind of keep firing and you can kind of point up a little bit in order to destroy them. As I drop down here, I point down to make sure that I take out the two soldiers on the bottom before landing, and then start working my way up to the top here. If you fall down below, you do lose a life, so be careful. Once you reach the top, continue in the level over to the right side. More soldiers chasing you, as well as these coming out of the ground. Of the 8-bit Contra games, which one is your favorite? Operation C, Super C, or the original Contra? For me, it's hard to pick between Contra and Super C. I probably will end up going with Super C, I think, overall. But still, all three games are very enjoyable to play through again and again. Walk through the water, being careful that you don't end up getting hit by anything in front of you. The enemy is chasing us from behind, thankfully, will end up causing the game to slow down a bit with the rocks, so we can see exactly what's going on in front of us and behind us. Then after that area, we're going to start climbing on up this waterfall. Be careful as you do it. And then when you jump across the waterfall, once again, be careful. The jumping isn't perfect in the game. Over here, it's time for the next boss encounter. We're going to destroy the two, turret things on the left and right sides of the flying back and forth boss part. Make sure you're out of the way of it when it stabs downwards so it doesn't go directly into you. Once those are done, focus on the main part. You can just blast upwards. Its projectiles are destructible via your gun, so if you have that spread shot especially, you should be able to destroy most of the projectiles it's firing out, hit it with a lot of damage, and take it down. Area number 4 on the alien themed thing with a bunch of bursting pods and stuff coming at you. It's another top-down perspective level. I'm going to head north along the left side, just a little bit more space to work with. Then I'm going to go over to the right and just kind of cut in between these pods. It'll slow down a lot because of just so much going on, so you should hopefully be able to kind of navigate yourself through it. Keep working your way north, just watching out for the things popping out of the walls. Eventually we reach the top, and it's time for another big boss encounter. Keep blasting at the front of the boss, but be careful to stay a little bit away from it so you don't get directly hit by the projectiles it fires out. The bouncing laser that it does shoot out can potentially cause you some problems, but usually it just goes on the left and right side and gets out of your way. Just kind of focus on the center part, working on the big old boss. As it moves back and forth, it'll get faster and fire more stuff as the battle continues onward, but once the boss is taken care of, we're moving on to the final level of the game. As we begin the level, watch out for the turrets on the top part firing down at you. These stationary gun things can be annoying. Anytime you see the things in the background, the test tubes, be sure to be firing at them, as some of them do end up bursting open and then an alien flying at you. Carefully climb up the various platforms, firing a little bit as you do so. From there, on the next part, we're going to start heading over to the right, once again kind of firing diagonally through some of it just to destroy the test tube aliens. Turn around and quickly shoot behind you when you need to in order to deal with the soldiers that may be chasing you. Once again, carefully climb on up a couple of the platforms. When you make it here, though, the elevator will turn on and slowly start to move up. Just gotta keep focusing on the various enemies, the ones that are gonna pop out of the door, trying to run into you. The aliens that are popping out of the tubes, and the most annoying thing, the electric laser that comes out of the one machine. Don't run into the machine, don't run into the laser. The easiest way to avoid this is not to be standing when it comes to you. Duck. And keep on ducking until you've passed it. They're annoying for sure, but if you keep ducking, usually you should be able to avoid it. Just gotta make sure that one of the other enemies doesn't end up hitting you while you are ducking. Eventually we come to the end and can continue on, moving up these platforms to the top. For the last area here, we have a bunch of turrets that we have to run across, as well as these on the top that fire out these big circular projectile bubbles. Just kind of fire diagonally and up at them as you're running to avoid them. And eventually they will end up going away as we reach the end of this area. It's time for the final boss. The boss will fly across the room, drop down, and then fire out missiles. When the missiles are fired out, you want to start walking the other way. Now, sometimes the second missile he fires out when you start walking away won't go behind you, but instead is shot in front of you. When this happens, quickly turn around and go back to where the first missile was shot at. That way, by the time you get there, the missile that was shot is gone, and you should be able to continue battling. Once it's taken care of, though, you gotta continue on just a little bit farther. Run down this hallway, being careful of the electricity that's coming out of the floor. And when you make it to the end, just fire at the big giant test tube. Do it any way you like, and once it's destroyed, you can enjoy the ending to Operation C on the Nintendo Game Boy. So there you have it, Operation C for the Nintendo Game Boy. A fun Contra entry for sure. Maybe not as grand or as memorable as its NES counterparts, but I'm sure many out there have plenty of memories with this one. As the credits finish up, we see the presented by Konami. And with that, we'll wrap up this episode of Play It Through. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.